Wouldn't I admit that regardless of who goes through, that Real Madrid are still the bigger club?
Absolutely not. You must be joking. No way. I respect Real Madrid and everything.
Who is the biggest club?
We're up there with you. I'll put it that way. You're not bigger than us. You ain't at all. Nobody, in fact, nobody in the world is bigger than us. That's what I say, and I'm not changing it.
This is serious. You are speaking
No,
serious.
you're talking about serious. You're talking about serious now.
No.
You're talking about serious.
Is history.
History.
Good morning, I am with you-know-who, Barry the boy, although she's not a boy. I've just got a message for all you Arsenal fans.
There's always next year, trust the process.
Trust the process, there's always next year.
It's a beautiful summer's day. The breeze is stupendous. I want to dance. Let me show you how.
I didn't expect that. I'm not gonna lie.
You know what? I promise you after today, Arsenal fans. So I'm excited. I'm back with the Sheikh and I'm off to Mykonos this evening. And I'm going. There's 10 of us going. Me, City fan, probably one mate, maybe two max who aren't football fans, but still, if there had to be, would support Arsenal. The other 6 are out-and-out Gooners, right? My journey there is going to be absolutely beautiful. I cannot wait, right? I can't wait because a lot of people know I dislike Arsenal, and sometimes, you know, some of the local, the Manx, wonder why I hate Arsenal so much. It's my circle of friends. They're just, my circle of friends are the definition of Arsenal fans. Like, arrogant as hell, right? Entitled, you know, think I once got told by Mario, my best friend whose birthday is, I got told by him once that Francis Coquelin is the best DM in the Premier League, right? That is the level of delusion I have to put up with. So I'm looking forward to that, but I promise you after today, we will drop it. We've got bigger fish to fry, like the FA Cup, which they won't be winning this year. So anyway, we are joined by the Sheikh. It's been a couple of weeks. And for those that don't know, you know, introduce the new blue.
Yeah, my son was born last Thursday. You know, thank God. He's doing good. Mom is doing good. Everyone's happy. And, you know, no complaints. So excited to be a dad. And I've already hooked him up with some Man City gear from a friend on City.
W's in the chat. Twitter. I just want to see W's for baby Sheikh.
Yeah. So hopefully, you know, I couldn't pull the trigger on naming him KDB or Kun, but you know, maybe the next one.
Do you know what? I feel like KDB and Kun are too obvious, right? You couldn't, you know, how could you? You can't really get away with KDB, can you?
No.
But I don't know, what could you get away? I mean, John, but you know, there's quite a few Johns, so you don't want to do John. See, I told my daughter if we ever got a dog, because she really wants a dog, and I said, look, by the way, I'm not comparing having a dog to a baby, by the way, first and foremost. But although for those that don't have babies and do have dogs and treat their dog like a baby, salute to you. But anyway, I said if we did get a dog, I'm calling it John Stones, just because I think if you're out in the park, to be able to go, Johnny Stones, right, is just a dog called John Stones. But yeah, listen, enjoy every second of it. Fatherhood is the best thing in the world. Probably the only thing I love more than Manchester City is my daughter. And to be fair, my mum as well. But yeah, it's a game changer, and you've got to enjoy every second of it, because one minute they're a baby that needs you all the time. Next minute, they turn 6 and they think they're a teenager, right?
Yeah. And they don't want anything to do with you.
They don't want anything to do with you.
All the advice I've gotten is that it goes by really quick. So we're just enjoying every second of it. And, you know, just super excited, man. It's going to be awesome.
Do you know what? It sounds really mad in the moment. And once little man's home and you get those sleepless nights and all of that, yeah. Even the worst of moments, right? Cherish. And it's at the moment it can be hard, but still you miss it, and that's the maddest thing. I miss putting her to bed and her not falling asleep for hours and me having to hold her. I miss that, right? All those frustrating moments. Then in the future, you miss it and you just want it back. I mean, I'm blessed to have one child, but deep down, if I could have one more, I feel like the most blessed man in the world. So, yeah, man. Right, super chat from Professional Idiot. Daps, you going to Arsenal's We Beat City and Real Madrid parade. 2 huge trophies for Arsenal this season. Unfortunately, they can't go in the cabinet. Salute for the super chat. Now, I did actually hear an Arsenal fan yesterday say, right, if you would have asked us at the start of the season if we would take beating Real Madrid in the quarterfinal of the Champions League and being 3 points above City with 3 games to go, I would have bit your hand off. And I thought, oh, you really don't fucking get it, do you? If that... And this is it, that they don't understand it. And I described it earlier on, right? It's a bit like, remember the season when we beat Man United to win the league? At the start of the season, we didn't expect that, right? We didn't think it would be Man United. We were in the title. But it is what it is. Whoever is there, you have to beat them. You don't go, well, you know, last few seasons, the best team's been City. So as long as we finish above them, right, it's peak for Arsenal. But we're here to talk about Manchester City, and I've been waiting to get you on because obviously, right, the last time we spoke, was it before or after Villa?
It was right after, I think.
Right. Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, it probably would have been 2 days after. So since then, we've played
Wolves.
Is that can't be it? If we only have one, this is mad. City in May, and we're only playing 1 game a week. Is so strange. It is.
Well, was the Forest game after that, the FA Cup?
Yes, we played Forest in the FA Cup. Yes, and
yeah,
then we played Wolves.
My brain is like all over the place.
No, that is. I bet it is. I bet it is. And you haven't even lacked sleep yet. Oh, god damn.
I know.
But yeah, so Forest. I was surprised at how easy that was, to be honest with you. And then Wolves. Well, what did you think of the Wolves game? Because we haven't really spoke on it. I mean, even on this channel, we didn't really speak on it too much because it's one of those quite easy to forget games.
Yeah. I think, listen, at this point of the season, I think we touched on this in the last episode. I don't care how we win. I don't care about the aesthetics of it. You know, we've seen the team really dig deep and kind of pull themselves out of a hole, you know? And I think that's the most important thing moving forward. I think most of the fan base is aware of where the club is at right now in terms of, you know, rebuilding the squad and how much we've struggled this season. And that requires a lot of, you know, context and nuance when it comes to your expectations for form. And I think as long as we win, get those points, you know, like I said, I don't really care. And I think that's essentially what happened against Wolves. You know, it's in the Premier League. You never know what team is going to show up, for better or for worse. And any team can beat any team on any given day. And given our defensive frailties this season, you know, getting hit on the counter and things like that, it's like, you know, we were letting in 4 or 5 goals at a time at one point, you know, so just being able to have that stability, come out with the 3 points. I don't really think there's anything to complain about.
Do you know what? I think that's a really, really good point and maybe where we as a fan base need to look at a little bit more. And again, when I refer to us as a fan base, I know the fan base is huge and everyone has different opinions. So, you know, if the shoe fits, I'm talking to you. If the shoe doesn't, I'm not talking to you, I guess. And everyone, and by the way, this also isn't sending for anyone, because I think one thing I've learned this season is how sometimes I might be right about something. Sometimes I'm wrong. And some of the people that I completely disagree with from Twitter, from the YouTube world, actually are right and I'm wrong, right? And, you know, that is why we do football YouTube. That is why we have football debates. But I think we're very easy at the moment, though. So when City, last few weeks, last probably month or so, we're winning games and we're going, well, as long as we win games, we're not mad, right? But then there is an element that will focus on the negatives. There is also an element that will focus on the positives. But I think we all know that we're not creating as much. You know, when you've got Gundogan, who's a box crasher, not crashing boxes anymore. When you've got De Bruyne, who's just a ultimate chance creator, not creating as many chances, also not got the shot in him that he used to have. When Foden's not firing, etc. All these different things, we're not going to be as creative, right? But I think it is worth focusing on the fact we've gone from a team that were leaking goals for fun to a team that are fucking difficult to score against.
You got to be gritty.
Yeah, and we are. And this is the thing, this Vardy Diaz thing, it's early days, but it's already churning out results.
Right.
Early days. And I think we're probably not focusing on that as well. I don't know, maybe, what the hell is that?
Oh,
Is that a train?
yeah, I have
your
a
trains
train.
actually sound like trains. Over here, they don't do none of that. Our trains don't sound like they don't. To anyone that lives in England, am I wrong? Our trains don't sound like trains should sound.
What do they sound like?
No, but bro, that sounds like the type of train we hear in a film, right?
Oh, that's nuts.
Over
That's
here,
nuts.
we don't get none of that. Like, anyway, yeah, I don't know if you saw City Extra tweeted today. I like that they are talking a bit about. I think there's been interviews with Vardy or interviews with Ruben Diaz, both talking about the partnership, and I think we do need to focus a lot more on that now. Transfer window, which is, in fact, no. Let me go back. How certain are you that we get Champions League football now?
I'm pretty confident, man. You know, I think if you look at who would play, we have Southampton next, is it?
Southampton on Saturday, yep.
Yeah, so it would be a giant disappointment if we didn't get it at this point. You know, obviously some cards need to fall against us as well, but I think on the last episode I told you I was confident. And this episode, you know, I think we've got it. I think we've got it in the bag. You know, maybe I'll end up biting my words, but I think so. What do you think?
Yeah, I do, but I can. This season, the old PTSD that I've had with this club has come back so badly that I don't. And the thing is, I never count away games. And I know this sounds crazy. Southampton, there's a reason they're on 11 points. They're shit, right? In fact, do you know what? They sometimes play all right football, but in the final third, they're shit, right? But I've always say this: I will never look at any away game and guarantee 3 points, right? Away
100%.
games, it's always been my thing. Home games are generally, although this season that even came back and bit me in the arse, but usually at home I'm a bit more. But away games, but we should beat them. It's just that PTSD is there. Bournemouth at home, I think, is a difficult game, and Fulham away, I think, is a difficult game. I would love to get 6 points out of the next two, and then just know, no matter what, we're not going into that Fulham game looking over our shoulders. We can just go there knowing, boom, we've got it. And who knows? I mean, the second thing, I can't see Arsenal dropping that badly, but stranger things have happened at this point.
Yeah, that would be nuts. That would be crazy.
If we end up finishing second in this season, it's, I don't know. I've obviously, I'm never a foul where I do more of the rival stuff. I've been saying this season to rivals from about January time, don't let City finish above you this season, right? Because you spent a solid 2.5 months absolutely cooking me, right? To the point where I gave up fighting back. Because I was like, I don't know, I can't defend this anymore. Like, it's difficult to defend this. We're not in a good place, right? But if we end up finishing, I mean, we're going to finish, for me, above Chelsea, right? Who at one point were in a title race. Above Forest, who at one point were in a title race, apparently. If we also finish above Arsenal, it's just, what the fuck is going on in this league?
I know.
I still don't want to praise us overly for doing it, but it is, do you know what? At least when, and this is what's really happened over the last few weeks, when it's got to the business end, I know we're not playing for the same thing we used to, but we've held our nerves so far, whereas the others haven't. And yeah, so I do think we've got it. I'd love to get it wrapped up as quickly as possible and breathe, and then we can really focus on the transfers. But let's talk on them. Now I'm gonna come with a different angle, because there's one player that I've been actually waiting to speak to you about, and you know, it's not getting all the press that Wirtz is getting. It's not getting all the press and the disagreements that Morgan Gibbs White is getting. But I saw something on Twitter, a player that we've been linked with that no one really knows much about, but you actually researched, right? And that's Gabriel Sara. And I know that, you know, I'm not saying it's the most advanced, but I have heard that there really are talks going on. Now, when was it that you kind of did your research on him?
So Norwich City, you know, Callum Doyle, kind of just in the grapevine. I like looking at championship players just because I have like a thing where I understand that there's a lot of big name players out there, you know, and every year there's one or two players that everybody wants, but the chances of us getting them are usually pretty slim to none. Unless it's like, you know, Holland is a different example. We were after Bellingham, but we were after Declan Rice. But if you really think about it, City don't really make big name signings.
No, I've had this debate a few recently about which ones are, which ones aren't, and it's not, you know, you're not reeling them all off of your tongue. Like there's a few, you know, there's debates. Was Tevez a big name signing? Yeah, but mainly you're right. We don't. I think I've seen it before with the list of the top 20 signings in Premier League history. I think City are 2 of them, right?
Yeah. The record signings. So I do this thing, Sheikh Scouts. I do these scouting reports, and I always try to find players that go a little under the radar, that are doing well. And Gabriel Sara, when he was at Norwich, he was their player of the season, and then he made the championship team in the season the next year, and then he got his move to Galatasaray, where he's at now. Yeah.
So 2 good seasons at Norwich.
Yeah, 2 good seasons. Okay. What people need to know about Gabriel Sara, and we can talk about Morgan Gibbs White as well. There's a very specific type of gap in our midfield that, you know, our board is looking for, very specific profiles. And it's not about this player is bad or this player is good. You cannot gauge players from such a binary lens. It's not good or bad.
Yeah.
You know, if there are certain qualities that they contribute to our overall system, and if you look at the way that we play as a collective, the collective is more important than the individual. Occasionally, there's an outlier, like an Erling Haaland, that is so good at what he does that you need to make an exception for him, or Kevin De Bruyne, where he's so good at what he does that you kind of build that creative fulcrum around him. But when you lose someone like Kev, there is no like-for-like replacement, and you can tell in the kind of midfielders that we're linked with that they're trying to figure out what the best way is to fill that gap. Not necessarily with one player, but with multiple players, you know? So let's talk about Gabriel Sara real quick. I really, really like this player. The question that I always get is he good enough for City? You know, and that's a very valid question, but to be completely honest, you know, as much as I like him, I am not a fortune teller. You know, people, if I say he's good enough for City and he isn't, then people will come at me. If I say he isn't and he is, then people will come at me. And for me, it's not about that. I see what he does, and there's I took some notes to be prepared for this.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah. So versatility is a big thing in a Pep Guardiola system, you know. And if you look at the positions that Sara can play: central midfield, right midfield, attacking midfield, left midfield, defensive midfield, right winger, left winger, even left back, right back, and, you know, 1 or 2 off appearances here.
Can he play in goal? He could be our second choice.
If he wasn't 5'10", you know, I wouldn't put it past him. You know?
Edison's not that much bigger than that, I don't think, to be fair. But carry on.
Yeah. So if you look at the creative stats, you know, 2.42 key passes per 90, which is the 95th percentile of all midfielders. XG 0.27 per 90. He's a left foot dominant player. Very, very good at set pieces, which is something that I've noticed we're not really good at. You know, the crossing is not
set pieces. Are you meaning corners as well? Because corners is something, I mean, there's no coincidence. Marmoush took one the other day and we fucking scored from it. But we do need more set piece takers. 100% agree with that.
And Gabriel Sara fits that bill.
Well,
you know, he definitely fits that bill. Lots of energy. You know, he's a good dribbler, advancing play, breaking lines. I wouldn't say that he is like a particularly adept defensive presence, but when you look at his numbers, 1.84 tackles, 1.15 interceptions per 90, it's pretty good. You know, he's a willing defensive contributor. All of this tells me that, as what I was saying before, the singular qualities that he possesses, if you were to put it into our collective, he can contribute, you know? And the most important thing is when you look at the players that are leaving or potentially leaving, like a Kev, maybe a Kovacic, maybe a Bernardo, you know? Bernardo specifically is that guy, jack of all trades, plays all over the place. Kovacic is an 8 who plays 6, you know, he carries the ball forward. He's being asked to sit a little bit more this season. That's not really his role. Sara can do everything that these guys do and take care of all their responsibilities. And he has a little bit of bite, and he also has those legs that you want. High energy player, you know? So if you think about him in this City system and who's leaving, another question people ask is, you know, can he start? And it, you know, when you think about at the peak, all of our midfielders, when they were all fit and firing, when they're all like kind of in their prime, none of them were really, you know, Gundogan, Bernardo.
None of them were guaranteed.
Exactly. There's no such thing as a guaranteed
No,
starter other than Haaland, Rodrygo, Guardiola moving forward.
Bo, I've been saying this for a long, long time. And you know what? It's frustrating because we are a club that 1 minute people want to say one thing about us, the next minute they want to say the complete opposite. Now, there is a thing called Pep Roulette for a reason, right? Because of Pep's. And the thing is, the reason why we've been able to dominate so much is because I've always said this, and let's take Gabriel Jesus as an example. Do you want to be a starter week in, week out, play 65 games and end the season with fuck all, right? Because ultimately it's the same 12, 13 players that get burnt out. Or do you want to be part of a squad, right, that ends the season with a load of trophies, but instead of playing 65 games a season, because of the amount of games we play, you're still playing 35 to 40 games a season, right? It's just you're not guaranteed on. So I do hear you on that. And you think, right, here's the key with it. I don't know if you'd know the answer to this, but what type of fee are we talking on, Sara, do you think?
I mean, honestly, I don't really know. He kind of just got there, you know, I think it was last season. So I would say for me personally, if it's like over 50, I feel like that's the going rate for a player from that league. I think that would be fair, you know. The thing with him is
Euros, are we talking?
Yeah.
So that's about 40 million. I think that's around about 40 million quid. Yeah, okay.
I always like to be fair and talk about some you know, weaknesses, some concerns, you know. And I think the versatility is one thing, but I think something that, you know, I'm a little concerned about is will he be able to kind of carve out a singular role, you know, or will he be kind of all over the place and play all over the place? You know, it's he's not necessarily a specialist in the sense that you can look at him and be like, oh, he's perfect for this. But when you look at us playing in a 3-2-4-1 and a 4-3-3, he is perfect for that left-sided 8, aka the Gundogan role. You know, there's a lot to like. And another thing I wanted to add is that as a person, going from Brazil to playing the championship and then going to Turkey, I think that shows immense personal, professional character, adaptable. And also he has a reputation for being a great locker room guy at Norwich, very involved and engaged in community activities. This is the type of character. Yeah, person. It's like City has made a reputation of signing high character players, you know. No off-field drama. They try to avoid that as much as possible. Obviously, it's impossible to avoid entirely, but all that tells me that as a profile, as a person, as a player, there's a lot of good, and the only bad that I see is, you know, some concerns about how will he adapt to this level of football, you know. But those are all that applies to literally every single player.
To anyone that isn't coming from the Premier. Right? Do you know what? I'll even go as far as to say it could apply to Morgan Gibbs-White, because I think if Morgan Gibbs-White comes in as an English player, right, he's going to cost more, and he's going to be more aware and probably pay a lot more attention to social media, to the media. So he has that pressure, different type of pressure, but he also has it. I really like your point about the league he went to, and someone's just mentioned him, spot on, Fernandinho type character. I do agree with you that if you've come from Brazil, right, and your go-to is not must stay in the Premier League where they pay you shitloads of money, or must stay in England where they pay you more, must go to La Liga because of the style of football. For him to go to Galatasaray, it does show that he just wants to get on with his game.
Yeah,
And
just
yeah,
these
I really
one
do
of my
like that.
one of my buddies and I were talking that the South American players are football. It means something different to them.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lifestyle. It changes generational wealth and setting up your family forever. Yeah, obviously that applies to, you know, European players as well, but you know, the levels of poverty and finances in these countries is different.
Yeah.
You know, so for a Brazilian player from, you know, everyone spams that picture of Gabriel Jesus, you know, painting the favelas, you know, talking about how he made it here. That applies. And I would love to see him in City colors, man. I think he's.
See, this is a thing that when it first came out, I'll be honest with you, Bo, I knew nothing about him. And I thought, fucking hell, saw Norwich, saw Galatasaray. I thought, I'll be honest, I did the thing that I hate people doing, which is, he's not big enough for City, right? And then
It's fair.
I admit, because I'm the first person to say I don't watch, apart from City, I don't watch too much, and the Premier League, I don't watch too much European football unless it's in the Champions League. So, but then I saw you tweet on him. I thought, okay, let me have a little read. And I saw you were really, really praising him and thought, I need to chat to him about it, because clearly at the club, we're showing an interest in him. And for me, by the way, just to throw this out there, obviously we'll talk on Wirtz in a minute, but we've been having the debate on probably from Tuesday through till today on whatever shows I've been on, is if we don't get Wirtz, what do we do? And
Yeah,
the one thing that I'm pretty much, my opinion is that the reason why I want Wirtz is because in the 10 role, or in a forward role, shall we say, I think Wirtz is an improvement on pretty much anything we have. Now, you could argue Foden at his absolute best might be up there, but we've got plenty of 10s, right? We've got fucking loads of them,
many,
right?
Yeah,
and
it's too many.
It's not something we essentially need. Now, if we're going to get a better one than we already have, I'm here for it, right? But we don't just need any 10. And it's a bit like, I remember when we were linked with Jorginho ended up going to Chelsea, and Pep came out and said, we're not just going to buy a 6 for the sake of a 6. If he's not the right man, we're not getting him. We waited a season, and the season after we got Rodri, right? And I think my stance with the Wirtz thing is, if we can't get Wirtz and there's no one better in the 10 role, we've got plenty. I would rather and there we go, Andrew, I'd rather we go and get more 8s, right?
Yeah,
I think that is, because if we're looking at, right, De Bruyne, Gundogan, Bernardo, Kovacic, 4 straight away. Now, we'll say De Bruyne's a 10, but to be fair, at times, De Bruyne even plays in the 8 role. The other 3 are 8, right? We need to replace them all in the next year and a half. So for me, getting more 8s is essential. And I'm not mad. I see so many names thrown about of players. And I think someone mentioned this earlier, and someone said, why are we obsessed with going and getting big names, right? And I think you really like that. And I think this is one that interests me, because I don't think it is a big name. Less pressure. I'll be honest, I've seen more shit on Morgan Gibbs-White, who's probably a bigger name than Sara, but I've seen more people talk down on him than I have on the Sara thing. I haven't really seen much slander on him. So
I think it's just the English thing, man. Like, I'm not English, so speaking from an outsider perspective, I don't understand why English players get so much hate. Maybe it's because the Premier League, it's marketed and advertised as the best league in the world, and there's so much hype around the English national team. But with all due respect, you guys haven't really won anything in a while. So
been that for years.
Yeah, but the talent is there, and when you look at the core of our teams, like there's a lot of English players, a lot of very good English players, and you look at the English players we've signed, whether it's Kyle Walker or Giant Stones or even as Jack Grealish, these guys have come, put in a shift, won us everything. And I think Morgan Gibbs-White, if we're moving on to that player now, can definitely be that mold of player that maybe
sale for you, bro. This one is a harder sale. Not on me, slightly on me. Because to be fair, you've just sold Gabriel Sara to me. I want to buy him now, bro. I want his name on the back of my shirt. So now move on and sell me Morgan Gibbs-White.
Okay. I mean, there's honestly so many obvious things, and what you said about getting more eights, right? It's if you look at Nico Gonzalez, and Nico Gonzalez is also kind of a hybrid. Like he was playing forward as a 10 box crasher, playing as an 8, has roots as a 6. He's even big enough to play center back if we really, really, really wanted him to. Not saying that we should. So all the players that we're linked to, I see a lot of people in the chat talking about Rangers, Gabriel Sara, obviously Morgan Gibbs White. Clearly, we're looking for those guys that are versatile enough to play multiple roles in midfield. And when you look at Morgan Gibbs White, who came up as a winger, he has the technical ability to kind of drift outside, play passes in from both wings. Extremely tenacious player. He's a leader. He's captain for us on multiple occasions. He's not shy of the occasion. He's not like a small-minded player, and he doesn't shy away from the occasion. And to me, a lot of City fans will be like, well, him and Rodri, nearly butted heads. I fucking love that. This is Rodri. This, everybody in the Premier League in the world at the time, Rodri was the guy. And if you have the balls to go face to face like that against prime Manchester City and not back down, that maybe exactly.
Yeah.
And not even as a player, but as a man, when you're on a pitch, it's not about, oh my God, he has a blue kid on it. This is, you bleed just like us, you sweat just like us, you play the same exact game. So let's go toe to toe. And if you win, we win. If you lose, you lose. And they're professionals at the end of the day, But let's talk about Morgan Gibbs White and his fit in general. We talked about the 3-2-4-1. We talked about 4-3-3. Sometimes we play 2 attacking midfielders, number 8's behind the striker. They're responsible for breaking down low blocks, creating overloads, rotating into wider half space channels. That is Morgan Gibbs White. To a T, that's exactly what he does. His most natural role, left-sided, right-sided, number 8-10 hybrid, which City have used Kevin De Bruyne for. They've used Bernardo Silva for. They've used Phil Foden for. Gibbs White can do all of that, and all Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, if they're both gone, what are we going to do? We're going to rely on Foden alone, who we don't know what his form is going to be. We don't really know what's going on.
No, we don't.
I love Phil.
I think that's something I've been saying recently. That look, if Foden gets back to his best, we know how good Foden can be. But at this point, and we've got to give him time, because it's, what, we've given him the whole season. So far, he hasn't returned to that form. So we can't just presume that next season's going to be a different story. We can't.
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to someone like Rangers, everyone's saying Rangers, and this is the thing, people get so fixated on names and they don't think about the context behind the names. Rangers just went to Milan last summer. He's happy there. He's probably going to contract extension, or I don't know if he has. He might have gotten it already.
Someone said to me that he's just signed a new contract, but I don't know if that's true or not. So
and I'm a big fan of his game. I wanted us to sign him before he came here, But Morgan Gibbs White, being in the Premier League, he's played us. He's best friends with Foden. There's so many reasons why he not only fits with our team, but also with the culture of our club. Who's to say that Rangers is going to come here? Italian league is much slower. He was in the Dutch league before that. Yeah. I'm not taking anything away from him as a player, because I like him as a player, but it's not Morgan Gibbs White or Rangers for me. I see Morgan Gibbs White. I see what he does. I see what he can do. And I think about when I watched him recently, people were saying that he did really bad in his most recent game.
Gibbs White against on Monday night against Palace.
Yeah, but that's exactly what it was. But if you look at the team around him and you look at the how proactive he is with his actions and how he's always looking to find solutions, I think that a lot of times not the lack of quality, but basically, if he was with us and he could refine those little things with Pep, this guy's going to be fucking mega, man. And I genuinely feel that. I think that he's going to come here. And some people might not like this comparison, but I consider him to be a little bit of like a Jack Grealish, but much more direct, much more aggressive. People love Kvaratskhelia, right? Gibbs White has a little bit of that edge that he plays with. And Kvaratskhelia is one of my favorite players in world football. I don't know if you saw, I did 60 days of posting about this guy. But I want that edge.
But let me just shout out to Mank Tone. By the way, professional idiot. I do see another super chat. I'm going to move on to that shortly. But shout out to Mancunian Way Tone. Go and check out Mancunian Way. He's saying smash the likes. Do you know what, people? I'm going to be honest. Yeah, we are getting some gems here. Yeah, because this is someone that does his research. Yeah, this is not like me and some of the others I get on the channel where we're just talking our opinions. This guy goes and does his research. There's nearly 650 of you in here. 145 likes. That's not the usual like ratio we've got. All you have to do is just check, have a quick check, right? Thumbs up button, just give it one tap, right? And what that will do is push this out to so many more people because we're getting some gems right now. So as Tone says, smash a like. Now, what you just said there, I just have to stop you on it because although I love listening to you, do more research than me. And a lot of the times what you're saying is probably facts. You did just compare him. You said he's similar to Jack Grealish, but more direct, right? Is it not fair to say that Grealish at Villa was the same?
Yes and no. I've never seen I've never seen Grealish as necessarily like, even at Villa, people have this kind of misconception that he played centrally. But if you look at his heat map from like his entire time at Villa, it's like, yeah, he drifts inside and he'll carry the ball forward. But Morgan Gibbs-White is much more centrally minded in that sense, naturally. Okay. Yeah. You know, Grealish is a left winger. He is. You know, he might
played off the left. Yeah, he has.
You know, no matter what anyone says about him being a tenor, he is a left winger. He's just not your typical high flying, you know, touchline winger. And it takes a lot of discipline to play like that. And going into the next point about Morgan Gibbs-White, that's something that I think working with Pep would help a lot with. That discipline, being able to kind of refine his positional IQ with and without the ball. It's a key tenet of Pep's system. You know, it's the reason why players like Gundogan and Silva have mastered that over time, and Pep trusts them like explicitly, even while their legs are falling off. You know, I think that Gibbs-White has you know similar technical qualities, and he can play the ball. And there's nothing against Grealish, but I just feel like we've seen the absolute best of what he can be, and I think that Morgan Gibbs-White's ceiling with us is higher than what I thought Grealish's would be.
Really?
Yeah, and you know, some people might not agree.
Yeah, but bro, I'm trying my best to sit on the fence with Morgan Gibbs-White. At times, the move frustrates me because of the amount of money that I think we're going to end up paying for him and the pressure that's going to come with that. And the uncertainty of, I guess, of where he's going to play. I listen, and the hard thing is that Forest fans that I speak to, they used to wax lyrical about him, but now they've changed their tune because they know he's leaving. And then that's like, right, okay, and they're constantly doing that. But I remember them telling me that they wish Morgan Gibbs-White was playing in the 8 role because they say we actually feel he's more of an 8, and when he has played in the 8 role, he's looked quality. But where I am with Gibbs-White now is I think we are signing him, right? And the minute we sign a player, I will back them, right? 100%. My frustration now is that he's going to continue to be judged. And if his mind's in a different place, right now he's in a Forest team that aren't playing very well. So, you know, same way when City weren't playing well, none of our players were playing well. And he's playing in the 10 role. I want him to get to the club now if he's definitely coming so I can see him in that 8 role and then I can really judge him. Because at this point, it's like I'm having to keep talking on someone that I really can't judge that much. So,
Think about it like this. So we remember how we were after Paqueta. You know, I think Paqueta, whether as a 10 or an 8, like there were a lot of rumors about how it's not about 8 or 10 or anything like that. It's like, how can we find someone that can balance Rodri, optimize Rodri, and in terms of you know what Morgan Gibbs-White brings as a playmaker, tenacity. Just you know, security in possession. Like he balances Rodri really, really, really well, and the calm and the patience that Rodri plays with, I really think that they'll play extremely well together. And then there's the homegrown factor and all of that. But the way that I see it is there's
Which
a
is a thing.
short-term...
It is a thing. The homegrown
Yeah,
thing is
yeah,
a
yeah.
thing. It is, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a short-term role and there's a long-term projection. And for me, he's 24, which means he fits perfectly. If we're talking about, Guardiola, these guys are, Phil, they're all 24, 25.
Yeah.
Doku's going to be, I think, 23 or 24. He fits the age, and it's such a sensible signing. And I get what people are saying about the fee. But hopefully, I don't think that he should be the only midfielder we sign.
No,
But
I want another
him,
8, ideally.
yeah, but him plus Wirtz, or him plus, even someone like Xavi Simmons. I don't know how you say his name.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal. Or someone like what's the French dude? I'm drawing a blank. The short guy from Lyon, Turkey. There's-
Bro, I
there's-
wish we were being linked with Turkey, but we're not. I hate to say it, and by the way, I'm not somebody that goes off what people say and all that attitude shit, because I'm kind of like, do you know what? We don't know enough. But for me, Turkey and the price, yeah, I wish we were being linked with him more, because it's like 25, 30 million. For me, take the risk. If you take the risk and his attitude does stink, you're still probably going to get 25. In fact, no, once he's come and played for City, you'd probably get 40, 45 million. So for me, even if you wanted to treat it as an investment, it's a no-brainer for me. But I just haven't seen us be linked with him once. So I'm just kind of like, but I'd take him 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
and part of that is like, if he's not linked with us and he hasn't moved so far, there's some rumors about his attitude, which I don't really buy that much.
Yeah,
like
neither.
there's some reason why maybe he's not made that move yet. But what I'm saying is, like, when it comes to MGW, he can play a part. I think a lot of people are seeing what he is with Forest, and they're not seeing what he can be at City. They think like their view on him is like capped. But you got to open your mind, think of the potential, and think of, working with Pep. Think of, like, there's players will improve, hopefully. We obviously had some duds here and there, but that's a risk you take with every sign. So all in all, I love it.
Okay, I think that's a hard thing at the moment. That it's crazy, and I know you think it's crazy, but some people have allowed their opinion on Pep to be changed so quickly that they're forgetting, they are forgetting what, and just people go and listen to what Messi says about the guy, right? The guy does improve players. If the players have the right mentality, he will improve you. And I do think there is an element of, unfortunately, in this world, people just want to be able to go and dunk on people and go, look at our new toy, right? And I do agree with you. We have to think about what they're going to bring to the system. And, for 3 months, all we got told is everyone can waltz through our midfield because we've got no legs. But now we're saying we want to go and get a player that's got legs and an engine. People go, no, we need techie, right? And it's like, I thought we needed legs, because in our worst 3 months, all I got told is we need legs, right? But now apparently, because we've got through that, everyone's forgot that we need legs. And by the way, I'm not saying all I want is legs, right? We could go and get fucking Kip Tanui or something but it is an important factor. So listen, I'm kind of, he wouldn't be my first choice. I've accepted he's coming. Who else do I want? Right, Florian Wirtz. I believe the latest today is that an interview's come out with Florian Wirtz where he's pretty much said he admires players that he plays with that have come from Africa or come to Germany from all over the world and have moved out of their comfort zone. And he said that he is open to that at some point in his career. Where are you with Florian Wirtz? Do you think we're getting him, Bob? Like, just an honest...
That's a tough one. My gut tells me no. I just feel like it just stinks of Jude Bellingham all over again. It's like, constant links and whatnot. And I've kind of checked out at this point.
Yeah, right,
if he comes, like, that's awesome. I would love him to be a City player. But at the same time, part of me, I love Leroy Sané, and him leaving for Bayern really pissed me off. Ferran Torres leaving for Barcelona really pissed me off. But that kind of pull that these massive clubs in their home countries have, you can't really hate on players for that. So I would love him to come, and especially if Xabi Alonso goes to somewhere like Real Madrid. It's just like I don't know. I would love for him to come, but I honestly don't think he's going to come. That's kind of where my gut. Yeah, that's what my gut is telling me.
I'll be honest with you. Until this week, I was really confident he was coming. Really, really confident he was coming. I think in all honesty, at the moment, what we're seeing Bayern's PR team spin it one way. We're seeing our PR team spin it the other way. Both of us are probably downplaying the fact that if Alonso does go to Madrid, that does bring Madrid into the mixer as well. And I think we're probably not going to know for another couple of weeks yet.
And that's the worst part. It's going to be more and more.
It's one of those ones. Do you know where it's similar to where I was with Erling Haaland, that I'd tapped out of the Erling Haaland chase, right? Because it was just becoming too much, right? But then and to be fair, I got the Erling Haaland kind of someone I know got told. In fact, two people I know, right? One who went to uni with, at the time, a guy that was basically David Ornstein's admin, right? He got one morning, I woke up to a message from him saying, Daps, you can't show anyone this, but a screenshot from his mate saying, tell your mate Daps he's going to be very happy Erling Haaland is joining Manchester City. And this was around about March time, I think. It was very early, right? About an hour later, I got a message off another one of my friends who knows people at City saying, mate, we can't tell anyone. You can't say it on streams, but Erling Haaland is coming to Manchester City. And so the fact that two people had told me, I was like, fuck. But at that point, before those, I tapped out as well. Like, I am getting there with Wirtz now. And I'm thinking, people always say, oh, all right, if we don't get Wirtz, who is it? And I'm kind of like, I'm swinging towards that. I'd like Cherky, but I don't think we're going to get him. And I'm thinking, do you know what? Let's look for a different profile. Let's not push to get a 10 that is, we've got Etcheverry. We don't know how good he's going to be. We've got Marmoush who can play the 10 role, right? Or maybe we adapt it. It's not so much of a 10 role. It's more of a second striker. We've got Foden if he gets back. If there's the other one, if we don't get Wirtz, we might keep McAtee, right? And then McAtee can also, and we've got so many there. I think, right, we've got to strengthen. We got to go and get a couple of 8s, maybe up to 3 8s. We go and get 3 quality, maybe 1 quality 8, 1 a bit less, maybe Morgan Gibbs White as the mid, and then 1. But yeah, right. What else before? Let's hit him with one more. Right. Yes. Diogo Costa. What's your thoughts on him? Oh, that sounded like you might not be so sure on him.
No, I think Diogo Costa is good, man. Goalkeepers are weird for me. I don't really know how to gauge goalkeepers sometimes, because some players who can't pass a ball for shit will be really good on the ball. Some players who can't pass the ball for shit will be a great shot stopper.
Joe Hart.
They're just like massive. And then some players who are really good on the ball will have a bit of a bozo gene. So I feel like there's a lot of give and take with goalkeepers. But with Diogo Costa, the one thing that stands out to me that I really liked is he's captain Porto for 4 seasons. I think over 120 plus starts in the league for them. Champions League, starts for the national team for Portugal, alongside Ruben Diaz, Bernardo Silva. It's not like he's coming here and there's not going to be players he doesn't know.
Facts.
The only thing that he's a great penalty keeper. The thing that kind of concerns me is
he's good on penalties, is he?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, no, Cass did tell me that. Yeah, he did tell me that.
Yeah. He saved 3 consecutive penalties in the UEFA, the Champions League group stage. I think it's a first in the competition's history. He generally has played well. I think Porto this year hasn't been as good, so his form has suffered a bit. But he's a solid shot stopper, good reflexes. But the thing that irks me, and this might just be like a kind of I can't really think of the word, but he reminds me of Claudio Bravo. Okay. And I don't mean like Claudio Bravo when he was bad for City. I mean Claudio Bravo when he was like in his prime.
Yeah.
You know, Claudio Bravo for Chile was a national hero. You know, like this guy was the bee's knees. And I think that Diogo Costa, you know, he has similar qualities to Ederson in the sense that he's good on the ball. He has a little bit of a bozo gene at times. But I think that ball playing goalkeepers need to be brave. They need to take risks like that. And inevitably, out of all the games that they play, they're gonna fucking make mistakes, you know? Like it's not the end of the world.
Bro, you know what? People, check the likes one more time, please. Nearly 800 in here. We're going up towards 800. Likes are still not even past 250. So please check the likes. Do you know what? So this is my thing. And whether we look at goalkeepers, whether we look at, I'm going to say Trent Alexander as an example, right? Trent Alexander, defensively, yes, he's not very good, right? But going forward, the best Liverpool we've ever seen, yeah, or in our lifetime, the best Liverpool, the Liverpool that ultimately won the Champions League, won the one season, won the Premier League the next. That was with Trent and a team that was playing to Trent's strengths, right? It's called risk versus reward, and ultimately you're looking at, is it worth the risk? And do you know what? That's our keeper right now. Ederson, sweeper keeper. He's made mistakes. He's had those moments, yeah. But I would not change it because it's very similar to when we say Pep's an overthinker. Well, we only say Pep's overthinking when we lose a game, right? Pep overthinks every single game, right? And since Pep's been here, the proof is in the pudding that predominantly we win games. Predominantly we win trophies, right? Same with the keeper. And one of Ederson's first games for the club, he came out and got his fucking head taken off by Mane, right? And I was worried, shit, is that gonna change him? It didn't change him. And the amount of times him coming out has saved us. So I think you're spot on that it will always be spoke about. The problem is when it becomes like Onana, that they're happening pretty much every other game, that's when it becomes a fucking problem. But if it's only spoke about when you're losing games and you're rarely losing games, it's risk versus reward. Ultimately, it's part of the, and it is part of the Pep system. It is.
Yep. It's Pep. As much as we earlier we talked about, we haven't been leaking goals recently, which is great. But Pep's philosophy has generally not been, and if you look at Johan Cruyff, which is his idol, it's not about.
Yeah.
What did he say? He's like, I would rather beat the opposing team 5-4 than 1-0 or something like that. You don't need to stop the other team from scoring. You just have to score more than them. And the way that we're built generally has been, every year we've been breaking goal scoring records every year. So yeah, as much as it is important, if we can keep the ball, sometimes some people will say the best offense is a good defense, or the best defense is a good offense. It goes both ways.
It's what Pep works on. I think Pep's whole thing is keep the ball. Look, I can look at keepers we've had over the years, and I can look at when, and it's not just about, for me, people always talk about goalkeepers with their feet, and they talk about their distribution, right? And don't get me wrong, distribution's massive. But for me, what is more important is how comfortable a goalkeeper is with the ball at his feet, not his distribution. Because if he's not comfortable with the ball at his feet, it changes the whole system. And
exactly.
And all we have to do is look at the best example for me was Zach Stefan, right? When I used to watch Zach
oh my God.
Because you'd watch Zach Stefan playing goal with the same players in front of him, and when the ball is played to Ederson, you literally, Walker would be the perfect example. Walker would hold his width. He would stay on the byline and he'd stay high up the pitch, knowing he wouldn't even sometimes be looking at Ederson because he knows, I don't need to worry about that ball at Ederson's feet. He's going to deal with whatever needs to be dealt with. And I'm going to hold my position, which means that the other team won't press Ederson too much, or whatever it is, right? There's a reason Pep's a genius. But when Zach Stefan played in goal, I would literally see every single defender. Well, every single defender is nervous and taking an extra 5 yards back and no longer holding the width. They're coming in because they're thinking, shit, he needs my help, right? And that just throws out, we are a system-based team, it throws the whole system out. So we do need, as long as Pep is here, I always said it, I always thought Ederson would stay until Pep goes, thought Pep would go first. But we need a goalkeeper that can play that way. There's a reason why Pep Guardiola got rid of Joe Hart, right? Because Joe Hart was a great shot stopper. And there's a reason why the minute we brought in a goalkeeper that actually could play to what Edison needed, we won the league, right? It's the proof is on the pudding. So I think the other thing, just one thing to everyone in the fan base, I would say, is we have to be open to other options. And I'm trying my best. Look, everyone knows Morgan Gibbs-White is not my first choice, but we have to be open to options. We can't just go, if we don't get Morgan, I don't want Morgan Gibbs-White, I want X. I don't want Diogo Costa, I want Chevalier, right? It's not FIFA, right? And we don't know at this point every part to the puzzle. And clearly Pep, Viana, and the lot, they've got an idea. Just one last thing. Have we got time for one last thing? Cambiasso. Let's talk on Cambiasso. Do you think we're getting him?
I mean, reports at the end of the January window were that it was essentially done. You know, I think he'd be a great fit for us too. Also super versatile, really talented player in the perfect age group as well. Can play both sides. You know, I'm not really sure. It's been a little bit quiet on that front, but maybe it's quiet because the deal is done. You know, a lot of the drivel we see from media and the leaks, it's just because it's for clicks or whatnot. But if it's done already, there's probably not any reason to talk about it much more.
No, I've been told that it was as good as done in January, but they wanted 65 because they wanted him till the end of the season. They said, if you can wait till the end of the season, we'll get him for less. And Six said, no problem. We'll come back and chat to you at the end of the season. And Cambiasso is already given the thumbs up to City and everything. So, yeah, I think that one's done. Right, a couple of super chats before we head out. And you're heading to the hospital today? You're probably working, in fact.
Yeah, I was there for 3 hours this morning. I'm going to get some work in, and I'll probably head out later. But before all of that, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah, please do.
We have hundreds of people in here, and you know, obviously, thank you for joining. I love you all, and thank you so much for the support with my son. It means so much. My wife has seen all of it. But the one word of encouragement that I want to give to all City fans who are, you know, losing their minds over transfers, it's like, give the club the benefit of doubt and be open-minded to any player that wants to come and put our shirt on. You know, at the end of the day, they're going to be one of us, and the players see the stuff that you're saying about them, and it affects them. You know, so if, you know, just because you want Florian Wirtz and you don't want this, be open-minded and embrace them, and we'll be all right. The club will be all right. Everything will be fine. So have some faith. That's all kind of what I wanted to say.
Do you know what? I'm going to do this at the end of everything, the Sheikh, right? And it's like Khaldoon is talking to us right now, yeah? It's literally like Khaldoon or the Sheikh are talking to us. You're spot on, bro. You are spot on. Look, I've said it. If by the end of the transfer window we get back to next November, we're still in a shit show, then we will be critical. But let's give them a chance, because generally they've got most things right. So I think you're spot on. Right. Professional Idiot saying, I would have preferred to see our new players and youngsters to see out the season. When our senior players can't perform, our other players would be ready to soak up the pressure and perform. I agree with you. It's a shame that we haven't been able to. That's why I would love to get it wrapped up as early as possible. Be great to, you know, Southampton be 2-3-0 up. Second half, start bringing on some fringe plays. It would be, and then hopefully be able to follow that on. But appreciate the support, Professional Idiot. And finally, US Citizen saying, honestly, we're going in for wrong Forest players. Ayana, I hear you. All I'm going to say is quota. And if we go in for Ayana, maybe we wouldn't be going in for a different player. So right, people. I'm going to let the Sheikh get back to business. Really appreciate you being here. We will be back next Thursday because I will be home. People, bear with me on this channel. Really appreciate the support. 800 of you in here. Make sure you're giving one last check of the like button. Make sure that I think pretty much every single one of you do already, but if you don't, make sure you follow. In fact, let me get rid of that. Make sure you follow the Sheikh on Twitter. Listen, you've seen how knowledgeable he is, so give him a follow. Now, I'm taking my laptop away with me. I'm going to do my absolute best to keep doing shows one a day while I'm away. But listen, if I don't kill me. It's my mate's 40th. I'm going to be having a few drinks, and I'd rather not come on and start acting like a knobhead. But on that note, this is going to redirect over to my good friend Igal's stream, right? Now, most of you know who Igal is. He's a very, very deluded Arsenal fan, right? So I would love every single one of you to stay where you are for another 5 minutes, right? It's going to redirect over there. If he hasn't started yet, smash a like and drop a comment. Something nasty about Arsenal. As nasty as you like, please. On that note, we are out.
They said we'd never sing it. They said we'd never sing that. What's this? City with the big ears.
Come.